Mirrors are supposed to show us our reflection, but in horror movies, they often reveal something much darker. Something that shouldn't be there. Something that's watching, waiting, or even trying to break through. In these films, mirrors aren't just glass. They're gateways to other worlds, portals to hell, and traps for the soul. Today I'm breaking down 8 of the most terrifying horror movies, where mirrors are more than just household objects. They're the doorway to supernatural evil. If you love deep dives into the darkest corners of horror, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Let's get into it. Oculus 2013. Oculus is a mind-bending supernatural horror film that takes the evil mirror trope to a whole new level. The story centers on the Lasser glass, an antique mirror with a history of death, madness, and supernatural manipulation. Siblings Kaylee and Tim Russell are determined to prove that the mirror was responsible for the destruction of their family. Still, as they try to document its powers, reality itself begins to unravel. The film jumps between 2 timelines: the siblings' traumatic childhood, when their parents fell under the mirror's influence, and their present-day attempt to destroy it. The Lasser glass doesn't just reflect, it distorts. It manipulates the senses, creating hallucinations so convincing that the characters and the audience can't tell what's real and what's a trick. The mirror feeds on psychological torment, driving its victims to madness and, ultimately, murder. What makes Oculus so effective is its relentless gaslighting. The mirror's power is not just to show evil, but to create it, warping memories and perceptions until the characters are trapped in a nightmare of their own making. The film's structure keeps you constantly off balance, never sure if what you're seeing is actually happening or just another illusion. The Lasser glass is a true portal to hell, not just a gateway to another world, but a device that brings hell into your mind. The ending is devastating. Tim, believing he's finally destroyed the mirror, accidentally kills his sister, completing the mirror's cycle of tragedy. The Lasser glass remains intact, ready to claim its next victims. Oculus is a masterclass in psychological horror, using the mirror as both a literal and metaphorical portal to hell. Mirrors, 2008. Mirrors is a supernatural horror film that takes the idea of reflective surfaces as gateways to evil and runs with it. Kiefer Sutherland stars as Ben Carson, a disgraced ex-cop who takes a job as a night watchman at the burned-out ruins of the Mayflower department store. The building's mirrors, however, are anything but ordinary. They reflect a malevolent force that can reach through the glass and kill in the real world. The supernatural threat in mirrors is tied to the building's dark history. The Mayflower was once a psychiatric hospital where a patient named Anna Essaker was subjected to experimental treatments for severe schizophrenia. The treatments inadvertently opened a portal to a demonic realm, and Anna's spirit became trapped in the mirrors, unleashing a vengeful force that can possess and kill anyone who looks into the glass. The film's scares are brutal and creative. Victims are killed by their own reflections, throats are slashed, jaws are ripped off, and bodies are contorted in impossible ways. The mirrors don't just show evil, they are evil, serving as windows into a hellish dimension that wants to break through into our world. Ben's investigation leads him to Anna Essaker, now living in isolation, who reveals that the only way to close the portal is to bring her back to the Mayflower and force the demon to possess her again. The climax is a desperate battle against the supernatural, with Ben fighting to save his family from being claimed by the mirrors. The final twist is a gut punch. Ben survives the ordeal, only to realize he's become trapped on the other side of the mirror, a ghostly reflection unable to interact with the real world. Mirrors is a relentless, visually inventive horror film that turns every reflective surface into a potential gateway to hell. The Queen of Black Magic, 2019. The Queen of Black Magic is an Indonesian horror film that combines folklore, black magic, and the terrifying power of mirrors as supernatural portals. The story follows Hanif and his childhood friends as they return to the orphanage where they grew up, only to find themselves targeted by a vengeful spirit who uses mirrors to unleash her curse. The supernatural threat is Morni, the titular Queen of Black Magic, who was wronged and killed by the orphanage's staff years earlier. Her spirit is bound to the orphanage, and she uses black magic rituals, often involving mirrors, to torment and kill those she holds responsible. The mirrors in the orphanage become gateways for her curse, reflecting not just the characters' images, but their deepest fears and guilts. The film's use of mirrors is both literal and symbolic. Characters see visions of their own deaths, are attacked by monstrous reflections, and are even pulled through the glass into nightmarish alternate realities. The mirrors serve as a bridge between the physical world and the realm of black magic, allowing Morny to manipulate reality and exact her revenge. What makes the Queen of Black Magic so effective is its relentless escalation. The supernatural attacks become more gruesome and surreal as the film progresses, with mirrors serving as both weapons and traps. The film's climax is a hallucinatory descent into hell, with the surviving characters forced to confront their own sins in order to break the curse. The Queen of Black Magic is a modern masterpiece of supernatural horror, using mirrors as both a tool of vengeance and a portal to a world of unimaginable suffering. The Unborn, 2009. The Unborn is a supernatural horror film that weaves Jewish folklore, Nazi experimentation, and the terror of mirrors into a story about demonic possession and generational curses. The protagonist, Casey, is haunted by visions of a ghostly child and plagued by nightmares involving mirrors that seem to show another world. The supernatural threat is a dybbuk, a malevolent spirit from Jewish mythology that seeks to possess the living. The dybbuk's origin is tied to Casey's family history. Her grandmother was a survivor of Nazi experiments that opened a portal to the spirit world, allowing the dybbuk to enter our reality. The demon uses mirrors as gateways, appearing in reflections and using them to torment Casey and those around her. The film's scares are rooted in the idea that mirrors are not just reflective surfaces, but windows into another dimension. Casey's encounters with the dybbuk often occur in front of mirrors, with the demon reaching through the glass to attack her. The film's use of Jewish exorcism rituals adds a layer of authenticity and cultural specificity to the supernatural threat. The climax involves a desperate attempt to perform an exorcism and close the portal, with mirrors shattering and the dybbuk fighting to maintain its hold on Casey. The Unborn is a visually striking horror film that uses mirrors as both a literal and metaphorical gateway to hell, exploring themes of family, trauma, and the inescapability of the past. The Queen of Spades, Through the Looking Glass, 2019. The Queen of Spades, Through the Looking Glass is a chilling supernatural horror film that explores mirrors as doorways to the spirit world. The story follows a group of teenagers who summon the vengeful spirit of the Queen of Spades by performing a ritual in front of a mirror, unaware of the dark power they've unleashed. The supernatural threat is the Queen of Spades herself, a malevolent entity who uses the mirror as a portal to cross over and claim the souls of those who call her name. Once summoned, she appears in reflections, haunting her victims and dragging them one by one into her cursed realm. As the haunting intensifies, the line between the real world and the mirror's dimension blurs. The teens see their reflections moving on their own, whispering secrets and showing visions of death before the spirit attacks. The mirror becomes both a weapon and a trap, an open door to something that should never have been disturbed. The climax is a desperate struggle for survival as the remaining characters try to destroy the mirror before the Queen of Spades pulls them through it forever. The Queen of Spades, Through the Looking Glass is a terrifying reminder that some reflections don't just stare back, they reach out. Poltergeist, 1982. Poltergeist is a classic haunted house film that uses mirrors and reflective surfaces as gateways for supernatural forces. The story follows the Freeling family, whose suburban home is built on a burial ground, unleashing a series of terrifying events as spirits attempt to reclaim what was taken from them. The supernatural threat is a poltergeist, a chaotic, malevolent force that uses the house's mirrors and television screens as portals to the spirit world. The most iconic scene involves young Carol Ann being pulled into another dimension through the static of a TV, but mirrors also play a crucial role in the film's scares. Reflections show things that aren't there, and characters are attacked by their own images. The film's use of mirrors is both literal and symbolic. The reflective surfaces in the house become windows into the spirit world, allowing the poltergeist to reach through and manipulate the physical environment. The film's climax involves a desperate attempt to rescue Carol Ann from the other side, with mirrors and portals serving as the battleground between the living and the dead. Poltergeist is a masterclass in supernatural horror, using mirrors as both a source of fear and a metaphor for the thin boundary between our world and the next. The film's blend of practical effects, emotional storytelling, and relentless scares has made it a classic that remains timeless today. Dead Silence, 2007. Dead Silence is a supernatural horror film that uses mirrors as a key element in its story of vengeful spirits and cursed objects. The film follows Jamie, who returns to his hometown to investigate the murder of his wife, only to discover a connection to the legend of Mary Shaw, a ventriloquist who was wronged and killed by the townspeople decades earlier. The supernatural threat is Mary Shaw's ghost, who uses her collection of ventriloquist dolls and mirrors as tools of vengeance. The mirrors in the film serve as portals for Mary Shaw's spirit, allowing her to appear and attack her victims from unexpected angles. The film's scares are rooted in the idea that mirrors can reveal things that aren't visible to the naked eye, and that breaking a mirror can unleash even greater evil. The film's climax involves a confrontation with Mary Shaw in a room filled with mirrors, where Jamie must face not only the ghost, but also the truth about his own family's involvement in her death. Dead Silence is a visually striking horror film that uses mirrors as both a literal and metaphorical gateway to hell, exploring themes of revenge, guilt, and the inescapability of the past. Candyman, 1992 and 2021. Candyman is a supernatural slasher with a demonic twist, and mirrors are at the very heart of its legend. The story centers on the urban legend of Candyman, the vengeful spirit of Daniel Robitaille, artist brutally murdered in the 19th century. To summon him, you must say his name 5 times in front of a mirror, a ritual that turns the reflective surface into a portal for his return. The supernatural threat is Candyman himself, a hook-handed ghost who appears in mirrors and uses them to cross over into the real world. The mirrors in the film are not just props, they're gateways that allow Candyman to manifest, kill, and spread his legend. The 2021 sequel expands on this, showing how mirrors are used to trap, summon, and even multiply the Candyman legend, making the evil nearly impossible to contain. What makes Candyman so effective is its blend of urban legend, social commentary, and supernatural horror. The film utilizes mirrors as both a literal and symbolic portal, reflecting not only the characters' fears, but also the history of violence and injustice that gave rise to Candyman in the first place. The final scenes, where mirrors are used to summon Candyman for vengeance, are some of the most chilling in modern horror. Candyman's power is tied to belief and repetition. The more people fear and speak his name, the stronger he becomes. The mirrors serve as the perfect conduit for this cycle, making every reflective surface a potential gateway for his return. So, there you have it, 8 horror movies where mirrors aren't just reflective surfaces, but gateways to hell, traps for the soul, and tools of supernatural vengeance. These films prove that the scariest evil isn't always lurking in the shadows. It might be staring back at you from the other side of the glass. What really gets under my skin about these movies is how they make the supernatural feel personal. It's not just about being haunted, it's about being hunted, corrupted, and ultimately claimed by something you can't fight. The demons and curses in these films aren't random. They're the result of human actions, ancient rituals, or pure cosmic evil. Which of these mirror horrors freaked you out the most? Did I miss any movies where the mirror's power was especially chilling? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the supernatural side of horror. Remember, in these movies, the real evil isn't just the demon, it's the fate that awaits those who dare to look too closely.